It must get tiresome always having to be on the losing side of the story, and it's no wonder that sometimes this pushes villains to darker and more drastic means of achieving their goals. Welcome back, Nerd Squad. It's me, Amanda McKnight, aka Vampex13, but you can call me Vampy. Today we'll be exploring stories of villains who threw caution to the wind as we count down the top 10 brutal villains who stopped holding back. Which villain would you like to see achieve their glorious purpose? Number 10. Apocalypse. There is a whole reality based on the question of what would happen if Apocalypse was unable to be stopped, if he basically, just pushed through and stopped holding back. This reality is known as Earth 295, aka the Age of Apocalypse. And in this world, Apocalypse becomes pretty much inevitable thanks to the early demise of one man, Charles Xavier, aka Professor X. The reality of Age of Apocalypse just goes to show you what a force Apocalypse is, and if an alternate reality where Apocalypse literally rules the world isn't enough to convince you of how unstoppable this villain can be, you can also turn to a more recent X-Men event, Ten of Swords, aka the Otherworld Tournament. During this fight, Apocalypse faced his wife, who was possessed by Annihilation, and even against the seemingly unbeatable foe that was Annihilation, Apocalypse somehow managed to win, saving his wife and freeing her from the influence of the Golden Helm, while also saving basically all of Krakoa, mutant kind, and Otherworld. Yeah, so this wasn't his most villainous moment per se, but normally Apocalypse is a villain, and this just serves as another example to show you another time when he decided to stop holding back, so there you go. And friends, before we move on to our next spot on this list, if you love what we do here at Top 10 Nerd, why not show us you love us by clicking that subscribe button and turning on that bell so you don't miss out on any good old nerdy content. Number 9. Darkseid. Jack Kirby, the famed writer, artist, and comic book creator, created Darkseid, who made his first appearance in Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen issue 134 in 1970. Darkseid is a tyrannical ruler of the planet Apocalypse, and is depicted as a new god in his comic book appearances. His ultimate goal is to gain control over the anti-life equation and to eliminate all hope and free will in sentient beings, basically enslaving the multiverse. He is considered one of the most powerful beings in the DC universe and is known as one of Superman's most formidable enemies, and honestly, the Justice League's probably most formidable enemy. For most heroes, it's considered somewhat of an honor to have faced and beaten Darkseid one-on-one. Darkseid was originally known as Prince Euaxus, the son of Yuga Khan and Queen Hegra of Apocalypse. He seized control of the planet from his older brother, Drax, by eliminating him when Drax attempted to claim the fabled Omega Force, with Euaxus betraying his brother and taking the Omega Force for himself. With his newfound power, Euaxus' skin turned to stone, and he took on a new name, Darkseid. But that's not all. While he is the ruler of Apocalypse, Darkseid has also succeeded in the past in conquering Earth, at least temporarily, using the anti-life equation, refusing to hold back once he had it in his possession. Number 8. Mysterio. Mysterio is a villain that is all smoke and mirrors and illusions, which makes a lot of folks consider him to be a not so real threat at times. Still, with the cinematic take on the character, we saw Mysterio almost completely dupe, I would say, the entire world. And even when he was quote-unquote defeated, he still kind of did just that. His plan here was to convince everyone he was a hero and win them over to his side, and even when he seemingly perished, he actually still managed to succeed in this goal. In the Old Man Logan universe, Mysterio is also the one behind defeating all, get that, all of the X-Men by tricking Wolverine into thinking all of his friends were really supervillains, thereby getting him to kill the entire X-Men team and school. Yikes. In other words, just because something isn't real doesn't mean that you shouldn't still, maybe fear it. A great illusion obviously can be more persuasive in some cases than reality itself, especially if you can't see reality because Mysterio's creating an illusion. Number 7. Hecate. While they may have not known it at the time, Hecate was also a very powerful Justice League foe. Here, interactions with the Justice League and her manipulation of them were not even recognized by the JLA themselves, but instead were taken note of by Justice League Dark, which is basically like Justice League, but they just do magic stuff and they work in the basement. Hecate would threaten the very makeup of the universe when she refused to hold back in the pages of Justice League Dark. She almost won, so We've got to take that into account. Number 6. Dr. Octopus. Dr. Octopus is a villain who might be well respected among Spider-Man fans, but on a greater scale, he's not likely someone you think of when you think of like a global level supervillain threat. When you think of someone who's, I don't know, unstoppable, who doesn't, hold back. Usually we think of him as being a little bit more reserved. But while he might not share the status of comic book villains like Doctor Doom, it doesn't mean that he doesn't deserve to instill that level of fear among the superhero community. After all, when Doc Ock chose to stop holding back, and he did, when he lay on his deathbed, he was able to seemingly do something most villains have struggled for years to do: permanently defeat Spider-Man by tricking him into swapping bodies with him, which is pretty crazy. And then for a while we thought Spider-Man was literally gone, but he wasn't, because comics. Number 5. Upside Down Man. While not officially stated as such, the Upside Down Man is kind of godlike in his appearance in DC Comics. He is, I would say, the dark reflection of Hecate, who is quite dark herself, clearly, so that's saying something, as she is considered to be a goddess and powerful witch. So I think this means we can basically consider him to be at a god level or beyond, honestly, when he wants to be. And of course, Upside Down Man proved how brutal he could be when he chose to attack all of reality, threatening to devour the entire multiverse in Justice League Dark. Number 4. Chthon. For those who are not familiar, Chthon is often attached to Scarlet Witch in Marvel Comics and is a demonic elder god, one of the oldest entities in the Marvel Universe. He is the one who is often believed to have granted Scarlet Witch her chaos magic abilities and has been known from time to time to possess Wanda, as such, using her as his host. While Doctor Strange has faced and defeated Chthon before, there have been times when the villain has proven to be even too powerful for other super powerful magic users to handle, like Doctor Strange and even himself often a villain, Doctor Doom. At one point, Chthon threatened to bridge the gap between his realm and Earth, using the Darkhold as a kind of bridge. He assumed a physical form and threatened to basically conquer Earth. The only one who was able to stop him was Scarlet Witch, and even then, Wanda couldn't defeat him permanently, and instead kept him imprisoned within his own book, the Darkhold, which she keeps basically within herself, using the text in Chthon to basically bolster her own power. I'm sure nothing can go wrong with that, right? Number 3. Anti-Monitor. The Justice League has many powerful villains, but the Anti-Monitor is one of honestly the most terrifying. His control of the antimatter universe and the ability to threaten the multiverse make him an unstoppable force. During Crisis on Infinite Earths, the Anti-Monitor refused to hold back and caused massive, and I mean massive, destruction, as his determination to end everything terrified readers. Even after his defeat, the threat remained, as Necron held his body, taking it and actually repurposing it to be used as a power source for the Black Central Power Battery. I mean, Black Lanterns are not good, they are bad guys, but at the end of the day, you have to admit at least they're good at recycling. Number 2. Enchantress. Oddly enough, despite both being very much tied to the world of magic over at Marvel Comics, Enchantress doesn't often get to face off against people like the Sorcerer Supreme of Earth, which you would think she would because she's a very magical villain and he's a very magical hero. However, during the Acts of Vengeance crossover event, she did end up getting matched up for battle with him in his series, Doctor Strange Sorcerer Supreme. In issue number 12, we see these two face off, and Enchantress, along with Executioner, proves to be actually too much, even for Doctor Strange to handle, which might surprise you, but that's how it went. First of all, he is successfully seduced into attending a meeting with Amora the Enchantress in the evening, not even seemingly recognizing her as the Enchantress previous to her reveal. Then they begin to battle, and Enchantress and Executioner's Asgardian heritage makes them seemingly too much for Strange to handle. Fortunately, Clea shows up just in time to save his magic butt, but as with many other superhero battles against Enchantress, Strange honestly got lucky. I feel like a lot of people get lucky when they fight Enchantress because she is always a powerhouse, and she often does not hold back, to be real with you. Number 1. Batman Who Laughs. Although he may currently be defeated in the comics, make no mistake that the Batman Who Laughs remains one of the most terrifying characters to come out of DC Comics' Dark Multiverse. I miss the Dark Multiverse. Batman Who Laughs hails from Earth -22 and is a version of Bruce Wayne who ended up being turned insane by exposure to the Joker venom. When Batman Who Laughs stops holding back, you honestly better watch out. Batman Who Laughs would serve Barbados, the Bat God, and later go on to ally himself with and later even betray, if you can believe it, Perpetua, revealing the whole time that he actually planned to conquer the multiverse himself, so he might shape it in his his own image, becoming one of the most feared villains in all of DC's history. You know that you're a crazy villain when you're just like betraying villains like left and right and being like, oh, this was actually part of my plan the whole time, to go with you, betray you, and then take over the multiverse. That's crazy. That's about it. Until next time, you stay nerdy, YouTube.